You're welcome back to NC Continental Prime. Now, as the African Union celebrates its 60th anniversary, delegates from across the continent gathered in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, for the opening ceremony to mark the occasion. Former Chadian Prime Minister and Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki Mahamat, made an opening statement welcoming those in attendance. The celebration of the 60th anniversary is an opportunity to recognize the role and contribution of the founders of the Continental Organization and many other Africans on the continent.
De l'intensification de la lutte hégémonique entre les grandes puissances. Dans ce contexte international d'affrontement des intérêts géopolitiques divergents, la volonté des uns et des autres menace de transformer l'Afrique en terrain de bataille géostratégique, recréant de ces faits une nouvelle version de la guerre froide, fort préjudiciable à l'efficacité du multilatéralisme dont dépend la paix et la sécurité mondiale. Dans ce jeu à somme nulle, où les gains des autres se traduisent par des pertes pour l'Afrique, nous devons résister à toutes les formes d'instrumentalisation.
Now, joining me for more perspectives in this, I have two political analysts joining live from Johannesburg, South Africa, Gideon, Chitanga, and Siphamandla, Zondi. A warm welcome to you, gentlemen, and thanks for joining me on NC Continental Prime. Now, I'd like to start with you, Siphamandla. What is the significance of commemorating African Union Day and Africa Day, and what does it represent for the continent of Africa?
One significance is ideological. For a continent that was under domination for over 200 years, the fact that out of that it was able to come out united and create a structure called the Organization of African Unity, at least to build unity among them and reverse the curse of Berlin, where Africa was arbitrarily
divided
into the little pieces, is an important thing to remember, that while there are many things we have not been able to achieve, but we were able to come out of that period with some semblance of unity. The second one is that structure enabled the continent to talk repeatedly about what the continent wanted, kind of build a sense of shared purpose, and in many cases to join forces and overcome a number of major challenges on the African continent. Lastly, it is that the continent was able to use this structure to head off the headwinds that came from the Cold War, with all its huge challenges, divisive challenges of the African continent, that now the chairperson of the AU Commission is now talking about a new Cold War. But it was this structure that enabled the continent to chart a non-aligned position and look after its interest and not be too drawn into battles of the global powers that have very little to do with them. So it's always important to remember what we were able to do well, so that it might inspire us to do even better going forward.
Thank you very much for giving us that background to the involvement of the Organization of African Unity to African Union. And now let's look at contemporary Africa. Gideon, looking at the African Union today, how effective has it been in addressing conflicts in African countries such as those in Sudan, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo?
Well, I think to take from Prof. Zondi, who happens to be my mentor, he has given a great historical context of the emergence and development of the African Union. What we see in the contemporary conflicts, it's partly the historical legacy of colonialism coming into play, and surely there are other immediate causes and issues. I think the keynote point to take is that, at least with a platform like the African Union, it is a clear agenda, it is clear institutions, it is clear emerging policies, and African statesmen are able to exercise their agents to participate in seeking solutions. Yes, we might say that the cases that you are indicating, they are cases that are ongoing, and we see the challenges every day in terms of deteriorating humanitarianism, human rights, I think adverse conflict that seems to be endless. But I think the AU has given African statesmen a platform of their own to at least go in and try to find solutions. Look at the case of the DRC, there has been dialogue to the extent that at this moment, I think that the attitude of Rwanda and a bit the M23 has shifted from what we have experienced in the past decade where the conflict was really pervasive. There's an opportunity that through dialogue that is led by African statesmen, that a problem can be broken. There are other cases where African leaders have achieved peace and stability, and that creates a foundation for developing democracy, allowing citizens to exercise their rights. So in short, I would argue that the AU is a very important actor, is creating institutions, but obviously we still have a long way to go because we are a young continent and a lot of countries are actually very young in terms of the time they've realized their independence and the conflict going on. So my hope is that this platform will continue to be utilized to foster peace in the continent.
Thank you very much, Gideon. Now, back to you, Professor Zondi. How important is international cooperation and support amongst African countries? How do we facilitate trade and travel? Because it's easier for someone with a European passport to move around the continent and trade than fellow Africans. So how can we do with currency issues and also a truly borderless Africa?
It's one of the biggest challenges that the OAU failed to really resolve. It was able to intervene in conflict. It was able to intervene in oppressing the view of Africa. It was able to intervene to stop colonialism and to help countries to gain their independence. But it was not really able to place the people of Africa and their interests at the center of the entire African unity and entire African integration process. And then the question of an African passport and free movement of people on the continent and the greater integration of human systems, social systems, so that if I have a grant, a social grant, and I'm in Kenya and I need to travel to Sudan, I must be able to claim that grant in Sudan. So all those matters that related to human interest are what the AU were not able to really, the OAU were not able to resolve, and the AU is battling to resolve. One part of the reason why it is so is that in the midst of all this progress from the 1960s, something happened to the African state in that period that was unfortunate. It became a distant state that was distant from the people on the ground. It became a state of elite, taking after the interest of the powerful, looking after the interest of the political elite and the economic elite. And thirdly, it started to focus on technicalities and a big issue.
Rather than dealing with the issues of the people in those countries. Thank you very much, Professor Zondi. I'm afraid we have to go at this point. Thank you very much, Gideon Chitanga and Professor Siphamandla Zondi. Happy Africa Day to you both. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us on this subject.